All right, my next guest will face Josh Smith in the co-main event at CES 62 on April the 30th. And of course, it's Dinis Paiva on the show. Dinis, how's it going, man?
Very well, man. Very well. Thank you for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you again. It's been too long. Excited to see you step back into the cage, man. We're still a couple weeks out from fight night. How has this camp been thus far?
Camp's been great, man. The approach has been a little bit different. Well, between the dieting and the double sessions multiple times a week, everything's been great, man. No injuries, which is one of the most important things. I think anybody can go in, no COVID issues. And that's been another one, the last couple of years dealing with that. Well, last year, I should say, dealing with that. But yeah, man, smooth sailing all thus far. So looking to keep that same momentum going these next 3 weeks.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we went live here, and you're just explaining how busy you are and how important time management is for you with your main job, getting in the gym, just really maintaining that lifestyle to be a professional fighter. Just for anyone that doesn't know, run us through what a normal day is like for you because you really get up and get after it early.
Yeah, man. So definitely when COVID hit and my company went remote, it opened up some things. But even prior to that, I was still getting to the gym and starting my workouts in at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I've taken that same course of action. So ultimately, I'm doing double sessions Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I train Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday single sessions. But usually I get my running in on those days. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm up. 3:50 in the morning. I'm out of the house at 4:35, 4:40 a.m. I'm in the gym at 5 a.m. I get home around 7 a.m. because I'm about 10 minutes away from that gym I train in the morning. Shower up, get my breakfast on, my shake, and then I sit down. I open up shop at 7:30. I work until 5 p.m. and then I literally beeline it out of the house at 5 p.m. and head over to Triforce MMA, and I'm there Tuesday, Wednesday nights. I'm at 4-1 boxing on Monday nights. I'm at 4-1 boxing on Friday nights. Saturday has been like kind of like a cross training thing. I've been going up to Sit Yatong and Boss, which has been family to me for a long time. I've cross trained over at Lozon's MMA for this camp as well, and yeah, just mixing it up, man. Saturday's kind of like my floater day. I try to use that one day to get a good day of training, but to try to cross train as much as I can. I get the opportunity on the weekend to travel and whatnot. And then Sunday is my favorite day of the week. Sunday, I get to get up in the morning. I go running. I go to church. From church, I head to Triforce MMA. I do all my no-gi there. And then I come home. I usually take a nice bath. I soak that day. It's kind of like a semi-recovery day for me as well. I don't train as heavy on Sundays. And that's usually my day. I take my wife and we go out and we do our grocery shopping and meal prepping and get ready for Monday morning because it's an early day and we're right back at it.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite the week right there. I know for me, this time of year with the time change, it's easier for me to get up really early to get the day started. But like in the dead of winter when it's dark and it's cold, how hard is that, man, to get yourself out of bed, to get to the gym in the morning and maintain that routine?
It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. Listen, no one grabs me by the hand and sets my alarm and tells me I got to get up and go to the gym. I really do it because I know I need to. I hold myself accountable. But more importantly, man, I love doing this. I really love fighting. I'm not, most guys know fighters don't make a whole lot of money and hence working full time on top of that. No one gets me out of bed. So when that alarm goes off, it's my will and my determination that gets me out of those sheets and puts my shoes on, one foot in front of the other, and gets me going. In the dead of the winter, yeah, man, it's tough. It's cold. Nobody wants to deal with the cold, especially in New England. If you're in the Northeast during the dead set of the winter, you know how brutal it can be. But there's always been like this eyes on the prize kind of thing, and since the Contender Series, since that loss, I made it a point to really work on some things that I recognized in that last performance and some others in the past, and just getting to work, man. I got to get my workouts in when and where I can, and that early AM spot is crucial, man. I get my strength and conditioning, I get my boxing in, and I need that, right? So it's not as hard when those things become priorities, and those are the things that are most important in your face. it's pretty easy to get up and go, right? You know, when people are hungry, it's pretty easy to open up your mouth and eat. So when you need to get the workouts in, it's, for me at least, it's pretty easy to get up and go.
No, I watched a previous interview with you, and I do want to recap the Contender Series loss to Kyle Driscoll. I know what you said, but for anyone out there that didn't see that interview, that hasn't heard what, maybe you learned or took from that loss, kind of dive into that a little bit and explain, how you're going to be a better mixed martial artist moving forward from that, minor bump in the road.
Yeah, man. I mean, the whole fight game, right? You're either winning or learning. And what I took away from that last loss was just, lack of confidence. I guess I'm gonna say it wasn't a lack of confidence. You're not taking that walk and stepping into that cage, without the confidence. It was more about having faith in my forward pressure and understanding and knowing that, I hit hard. I was able to drop Driscoll in the first round and then drop him again in the third round, almost put him away in the third round. And he was definitely a bigger boy. He's going to 155 now and getting ready for his next fight. So shout out to Kyle and hope he does well and gets that call up. But that was one of those takeaways that, I fought a bigger, longer, taller guy. And I kind of let him dictate the pace a bit. I let him be first. And that was one of my big takeaways, is that I have the power. I possess that power to be the guy who marches first in the parade, if you will. So that was one of my big takeaways. And, obviously the getting back down to bantamweight is a separate subject of its own, but it goes hand in hand with that. When I'm fighting guys at my size, 135, forward pressure and having faith and confidence in my hands and my power and staying resilient and staying in the game plan when needed,
Did you feel any added pressure in that fight at Contender Series? I think some fighters react a little bit differently when they see Dana White there cage side. You've been at this for a long time. You're a veteran, so I doubt it really affected you that much. But did you feel any different, like getting ready before you made that walk down to the cage?
Yeah, obviously the pressure's there, dude. You got, almost 10 years of grinding away for that one opportunity, and you want to perform your best and try to get a finish that you can, impress Uncle Dana and get the head nod. And so, yeah, this, and it wasn't the most ideal circumstances, right? I got the fight a few weeks out. I didn't really have the most time in the world to prepare for that independent guy, but as far as mentally and spiritually, I was as prepared as I could be, as I could be. And it was a big moment, but I really enjoyed it. I learned as much as I could from it. I tried not to hang my head for too low. It was, if losing doesn't burn a bit to whoever you are, then you may be in the wrong sport, especially with fighting. Losing should burn a bit, but you should, you gotta be a gentleman about it and learn how to deal with it. And I've had enough losses in my life to know what it's like, to take an L and sit back. And again, this is what I'm doing now, right? I take that L. I went back to the hotel room, literally within minutes. I was still in my contender shorts. My hands were still wrapped, and I'm watching the footage from the fight, and I'm taking notes down, and I'm writing things down, and I'm looking at the minutes and the clock, and while it was all fresh, right? So that I can sit there and in the future, in which I had this camp, I've gone back to look at those notes and say, this is where you went right. This is where you went wrong. This is where you need to improve on. But pressure, man, the pressure is all. It's all up here, man. You're going to put pressure on yourself regardless. It's just learn how to deal with it. I think pressure's on everybody. Just some are better at working with it than others.
Yeah, no doubt. You're one of those guys too, Dinis, that I don't feel like the casual fan really has a good understanding just how good you are. Your record is not an accurate representation of how good you are. If I'm not mistaken, you lost 5 of your first 8 pro fights and then turned around, and you've had a very stellar record since then. Can you just talk a little bit about your evolution as a fighter and how at this stage of your career, once you get on the doorstep to a UFC fighting at Contender Series, you're able to bounce back quickly with that right mindset and move forward?
Yeah, man, it's been a long journey. This year makes 10 years since my pro debut, and early on I really wasn't managed as well as I've been since I've been with Top Game now, and that's really one of the big things is you got to have the right people around you, the right set of coaches that mesh well with what you have to offer. And I think a lot of it was kind of going pro too soon. A lot of people don't realize I really only fought as an amateur for 6 months. There was a 1-year gap from my amateur debut to my last amateur fight, but there was 6 months of inactivity in there as well. At one point in my career, I fought 3 fights in 4 weeks. So you know, a lot of the early losses were, again, those learning curves, right? Early on, I felt like I was making some amateur mistakes early on, fighting guys out of my weight, taking fights on short notice, you know, guys showing up 15, 16 pounds heavy, still taking the fight, you know, some lack of proper training in some areas. But, you know, for what it is now, man, this whole thing's been a journey. And if it wasn't for those losses early on, I wouldn't be who I am now. Maybe I wouldn't have learned the same way that I have. And although it's not you know, a good thing to have those losses on my record, because it's kind of held me back for the, you know, on paper, right? You know, you look at me on paper, I don't have the greatest record in the world at 13-7, but like you said, you sit back and you do your research and like, wow, this guy was 3-5 at one point in his career. He's 13-7, 13-8 now. I'm sorry, 13-8. He's 10-3 in his last 13 fights, and he's fought and beat guys in the UFC, or were, you know, guys that compete in the UFC or and did well with guys that are there now. You know, I know where I stand in the frame of things. And if anything, the record just, it kind of puts me as an underdog, right? You know, it's kind of like a sleeper. It's like when you're driving on the highway and you see one of those old like Civics that are all rotted out and whatnot, but meanwhile, under the hood, they're bored out and ready to go, and they're burning off the Mustangs, everybody else. That's kind of like me. I'm kind of like one of those old school like sleeper cars, you know. Under the hood, there's a lot of good, you know. And I've been fortunate too, like 10 years, 20 plus. I've never been knocked out. I've never been TKO'd. I really, and I'm not, you know, not to, I've never really had my ass kicked, right? Like I've lost decisions. I've been submitted. Most times I got submitted, I was way up on the scorecards or handling the pace of the fight, and get caught, you know? So that's what keeps me going, dude. I haven't had that dog really like removed from me. I haven't, you know, like a Jorge Masvidal, if you will. And I try to look up to him a lot because he's a guy who was around for a long time, had a lot of wins, some losses, been around for a long time, and then found a resurgence somewhere along his career where everything kind of made sense and he started putting guys away. That's kind of what happened with me. I started training with Mike Gresh, aka Local Lobo, at a point where I wanted to quit the sport. I was 3-5. I just started training with Gresh maybe a month before that last loss to Rob Sullivan. And, you know, he helped me surround myself with the right people and get the right mindset. And then success and wins all came from there. So I got that little bit of taste of like, this is what, you know, this is what it takes to get to that next level. And this is what you're capable of when you're putting yourself in those circumstances. And the rest is history, man. The rest goes in from there. You know, surround yourself with the right people, train your ass off, listen to those that know better than you, and learn. Always be willing to learn. And yeah, that's what got me here.
Yeah, very well.
Rant.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. I'm sure the people watching will love hearing that as well. Now, Gamebred fights a week before you, and you think he's going to spring the upset and become new to throw Usman?
Listen, man, you know, again, so here's a guy who takes the fight on shorter notice, right? Makes all that cut. And you can argue that he was training, and there's nothing like knowing you got a name on the dotted line and who you're preparing for. So you can sit there and say he was in the gym thinking he was going to get ready for Usman, but he never really knew. As far as I think when you look at the fight and you go back to the past, when there's a lot that Usman did well that he can continue to do well, the wrestling game and whatnot, but there were some good adjustments and things that Jorge did very well. I would like to see Masvidal win. I want to see the underdog. I want to see that Cinderella story kind of fighter come back and finally get what he's been working for. And look at everything he's accomplished, man. He's made a lot of money. He's got his name out there, notoriety. He's done a lot of positive things. But I really would like to see him get that belt on, that official belt, not the BMF belt, but an official UFC belt, and then we see what happens from there. I actually just shared something on my Instagram, and someone posted it. I forgot what the hell I saw. I had to reshare, but it was like imagine if, right? And it was like if Jorge was to pull off the upset and he beats Usman, and then somehow Nate Diaz pulls off the upset and beats Leon Edwards, and then you have Diaz and Masvidal fighting for the BMF/welterweight world title. And then if Diaz wins that, and then you could bring Conor in for the trilogy, man. It's just all these hypothetics and what ifs, but it was a cool thing. I thought I shared it.
Yeah, well, hey, there's a lot of great fights to be made, and if you're an MMA fan in general, 2021, it looks exciting. All I know is that first, that Diaz Masvidal fight, we were robbed, man. Like Diaz always turns it on in the fourth and fifth. I really felt like they should have given him a chance to go in there and dig it out if he could. I don't think he would have. I thought Masvidal was going to win that fight, but
Yeah.
I just feel like that was when Diaz typically historically does his best. So who knows? Hopefully we'll see that one again.
Roger that, man. Yeah, let's see.
Let's talk about that move to bantamweight, man. Like what are you walking around at now? How are you feeling as you're making this cut down?
Good, man. Good. So, even fighting at 45, I was generally staying in like the mid 50s, mid to high 50s. So I really wasn't cutting a whole lot to make 145. So when it came down to making a decision to go to bantamweight, it really wasn't a huge difference. So, I've been maintaining waking up between like 151 and 154 throughout these last few weeks. And now as we're getting closer and we're in this 3-week bubble, just changing up a little bit of the diet and kind of going more with the intermittent fasting kind of style. I'm still eating the same. I'm just kind of constricting the time frame on the times that I'm eating. But the weight so far has been great, man. I bless myself because I've had some struggles in the past. It's never an easy cut, but I plan to crush this weight cut. So yeah, and the way we're looking now will be by the time I head down, I'm actually driving down to Florida the Saturday before the fight. Expect to be under 150 by that point. I'm getting up like I said, between 151 and 154 depending on the day. So get up that Saturday morning, maybe around 150, if that. I'll get like my last good workout in that day, get a little bit of sauna stuff before I hit the road. And ideally I'll hit the road that day, starting to water load in the mid 40s. So that would put me, in the best position I could ask for come we get a fight, waking up in the high 40s for me, at least. I think it's a beautiful number to be at to make that cut to 35. As painless as I could ask for. I'm generally good at. I've done 12 pounds in 24 hours, so pretty confident there. So I don't think any issues. And I know guys that have done a lot more. I know guys that have done 16 pounds, 22 pounds in a day and a half. So, but for me, I don't want to tax my body that much. I've done enough. I'm getting older. I'll be 33 next month. So those hard weight cuts and crunching everything down to a short window is not the most efficient way of doing things.
Yeah, for sure. Now, do you do 16 to 8 intermittent fasting or 18 and 6? Like, what's your eating window?
I do 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. is my best window. And yeah, so it'd be 10 hours of eating generally. Again, sometimes I don't get to put my first shake when I break fast. Sometimes I don't get to it until almost 8 a.m. and I don't eat up until 5 p.m. Sometimes I'll eat my last meal at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So it generally is like a 16-hour. But yeah, 16 to 14 hours is generally what I go without. It's worked out well for me. When I wasn't in the fits of getting ready for the fight, I was trying to stay until 12 p.m. and then eating later at night because it's easy to veg out on the couch and smash a bowl of cereal before I go to sleep. But with the training and whatnot, I'm in my second training session by 5:30. So ideally, I want to have my intake at least 45 minutes to an hour before I have that workout at night.
Yeah, that makes sense. One last question before we dive into this matchup with Josh Smith. I do understand you got an infrared sauna for Christmas. Tell me about that, man. I've been wanting to get one, so sell me on this.
Dude, it's awesome, man. It's awesome. And for anybody that's dealt with the weight cuts and had some issues in the past, it's awesome, man. And I use that thing almost every day, and I was using it before I even had the fight locked in on paper, just out of aesthetics. I'd get in. It feels good. It's easy to sleep when you get afterwards, sort of a few pounds out. But dude, it's in my living room right now, and it's propped up behind my couch with the big screen TV. I get home at the end of the night. I rinse off. I hop in. I spend 45 minutes, a half hour, depending on the day. Sometimes an hour. And the sweat feels good. It feels good to get that weight off. It's very easy to clean. And you can fold it up, put it away. Great way of keeping fit, I guess, and cleansing. I think that's the big thing. A lot of people like it for the cleansing purpose of it, right? You get that sweat out, water in, and for cutting purposes, man. I've done Epsom salt baths. I've done the full steam room, sauna room and stuff, and that muff smell kind of gets to you. And this thing kind of locks you up to your neck, and you're able to wrap yourself up with a towel. It's got 2 little slots for your hands, so I'm able to play some video games while I'm watching some TV, and I'm sweating away, and it takes your mind off of things, man. You're not you're not in that sauna. It's tough, especially when you're already sucked out. Just the smell of it alone turns my stomach between that and sweet sweat. So it'll be nice, and I'm bringing it with me to Florida too, so I'll have it to make the cut. And it's great. Like it's to me, it's like a lazy man approach to the cut, because you literally just sit there and sweat, and because your head's out of it, it makes a world of a difference. So.
Yeah, well, I'm sold. I'm definitely going to be getting one here very, very soon. All right, co-main event, CES 62, April the 30th. Josh Smith, he's 9-6. He trains an American Top Team, so you know he's got a stable full of killers that he's training with on a daily basis. But this seems almost kind of like a little bit like a tricky fight for you, because you're expected to win. I would imagine you'd be a favorite here. Do you feel extra pressure going in, knowing that this is a fight that you really need to get back on the winning track here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. I'm actually really happy. It's my first time fighting in Florida since my amateur days, kickboxing once upon a time ago, and my family will be there and stuff. So I'm not going to put more mental pressure on myself from all the environment and everything else outside of it. But as far as the competitive aspect of it, yeah, it's one of those must-win fight kind of situations, and you know, really big win. Who knows what kind of opportunities they may open up for me. But the big thing was getting back to Bantamweight, getting, you know, a good solid win. And Josh is no slouch, man. The kid's 9-6. He's a tough kid. He's scrappy. He's fast. Good southpaw. He's got good wrestling. Comes from a good camp. I think it's going to be a more competitive fight than most, you know, would think. But I'm still going to sit here and nod my head and say I'm going to knock him out. And that's just my thought process when I step in there with anybody. I'm going in to finish somebody. I'm going in to knock somebody out. I think him and I match up very well. He's a little more wrestler heavy. I'm a little more striker heavy, but not afraid to bang. He's got some win by knockouts. I think he's got to win by submission. So he's not, you know, he's good on the ground. And he trains with a lot of elite guys, man. I'm sure he's got a lot of, you know, tricky stuff up the sleeve, but you know, I'm no slim picking either. And I'm not the easiest matchup for a lot of guys. And a lot of guys can say they're going to do this, that, and third. And then they get in there and they find out they're having some troubles. You know, I'm not the easiest to hold down. I'm not the easiest to take down. And I've been fighting with some bigger guys. I know Josh has fought some time at 125, so he may be on the smaller side, but an easy cut for him. So I expect him to keep his pizzazz, you know, throughout the 3 rounds if it goes the distance. So yeah, good matchup, man. And he seems like a really nice guy. So I'm looking forward to see him at the weigh-ins. I'll bring him a loaf of Sweetbread, and hopefully he enjoys, and you know, winner buys first round. That's always my thing.
I love it. So does this get into the 3rd round? I mean, obviously you're predicting a knockout for yourself. When does it end?
No, I don't know. I'm dangerous early on. But one thing I proved, and especially in that last fight, was, you know, in the 3rd round, halfway through, when I was able to drop Driscoll, I got power in both hands. And sometimes it's not the shots I have to wind up with to drop people. Sometimes I just slip them right in there. And that's one of the things that we've worked on this last camp is mechanics on some of my punches, because power is a God-given thing, and you either have it or you don't. You can work on certain things to help increase power, but knockout power, a lot of boxing coaches, a lot of MMA coaches will tell you either you have it or you don't. And you know, it's one of the things I was thankful for. I can get hit really hard, and I can hit really hard. So at the end of the day, you know, those are always 2 things I could rely on: my chin and my grit, and my power. But you know, ideally, yeah, I mean, the 1st round finish is what everybody wants to go on and do. And if I was ever to get knocked out, I want it to be pretty early. I don't want to sit there and take a beating for, you know, for 2-3 rounds and then get knocked out. I kind of want to, you know, go in and out on it. But yeah, man, I would like to get the finish in the 1st round, get back in the win column, and kick off 2021 with a strong finish.
You looking to stay active this year? Maybe gonna try and fight as much as possible.
Dude, it's hard. It's hard, right? You know, but yeah, ideally I would. You know, Bellator is doing some shows at Mohegan Sun, and they're not too far off down the road. So we'll see, man. Yeah, things are opening back up. You know, CES is doing this thing in Florida. If it works out really well, maybe they'd be hip to do it again. A good win. I believe that they're setting up this title fight for me and whoever else is on the other bantamweights on the card. It'll be a good thing, man. And if not CES, who knows? Maybe a good win at 35 gets me another shot in the Contender Series at 135 in the fall. You got Bellator. You know, maybe a last minute call up, you know, from Uncle Dana. You know, you never know. But you know, what's going to happen is I'm just going to continue to stay ready. I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to enjoy the day, 2 days, the ride back with my family. I got a little bit of some personal stuff I got going on a month of May. And then by June 1st, I expect to be ready for a full camp. So 30 days max of messing around here and there. But the training I'll go back to training as soon as I get back, without a doubt.
Very good. Well, Dinis, I appreciate the time, my friend. Again, CES 62, April the 30th. Dinis will meet Josh Smith in the co-main event. Before I let you go, man, tell people where to follow you on social media, and if you have any sponsors, the floor is yours.
All right, man. For social media, man, pretty simple. Sweetbread _135 on Instagram. I do a little bit of Twitter. Usually, I'm just kind of scrolling through and just checking up on other things and liking people's stuff. So, yeah, Instagram's the big thing. Direct messaging me is the easiest way to get in contact. As far as sponsors, man, there's a long list. So I won't go too far in depth, but RIOG is one of them. We got Alpha Bolics is one of my supplements and nutritionists. 2 in Florida, my sisters are sponsoring me for this fight, Peachy Clean Services and Gabby and Co. And I got a plethora of other sponsors, and not to go on a wild rant, but the big things, my coaches, my team, Tong, 4-1 Boxing, Triforce MMA. Thank you, Lozon, the guys over there who opened the doors up for me. Top Game Management. Thank you, Brian, for having me on, and thank you, CES, for putting the show together. And shout out to my man Josh Smith, brother, because without you, we don't dance.